Let's say we make one more circle round the sun. We have raised our fists in anger, we have tried to work it out. Work it out. That we need each other, we cannot deny. There is no doubt. There is no doubt. So let's leave another dream around the sun while we're turning, while we're turning on this planet Earth that holds our human race. We still are learning, all in all. Let's say this here and fly together has been fun. Let's say we make one more circle round the sun. Let's say this here and fly together has been good. Let's say we make one more circle. One more circle, yeah. One more circle round the sun.
So I bet it has happened to you before that someone has said something like, hey, I read this book and you should read this book too. It will change your life. And it's definitely meant as encouragement and it's meant as helpful. And sometimes you want to change your life, but sometimes you don't want to change your life. And so maybe you don't really want to read this book that's going to change your life. And of course the implication is that the book is going to change your life for the better. But that's just a presumption, isn't it? So we sometimes want change, we sometimes don't want change, but we always get changed. It's always going to happen. And what we're doing here today is acknowledging that some change is going to come up. Some change in our year, some change in our lives, some change in ourselves. Change is the only constant. So whether you are here today and your life is all lined up just the way you want, or if maybe you're here today and you feel like a little transformation would be a great thing, we're here today to acknowledge, to welcome, to invite, and to be really in sync with this true to life fact that in some way 2020 will be new and in some way we will be new in 2020. What we have to do, whatever these changes are, sometimes we see them coming, sometimes we don't. What we always have to do is just keep on showing up as our best self, minute by minute, day by day. That's what we're all about. And the White Stone ceremony is our way of engaging in this reality. And, you know, as much as we don't always know what's going to happen, we can know what we are going to do. Intention is the most powerful force in the universe. So when we heighten our awareness and our intention, we harness that toward the changes that we would welcome and toward managing the changes that maybe weren't what we had in mind. This is what furthers us on our path of self-actualization and expression. That's unity, right? So today, of all days, we are here for nothing less than inspiration. We'll invite God's message to us. And since God is within, we know we won't hear this message with our outer ears. We'll hear it within. The still, small voice is what we're listening for. The White Stone ceremony is a practice in meditation, a practice in revealing and discerning truth. Our little white stones are only big enough for one or two words. And somehow we are to perceive through the jumble of data and thoughts and ideas and concepts and reality and experience and externality. We've got to get through that. in order to pick up that message. And the message is to reveal to us a new name, a new identity, a spiritual focus for the year ahead. The ritual is based on scripture. It's from Revelations, 2nd chapter, and I'll just read this little section. Let anyone who has an ear listen to what the Spirit is saying to the churches. To everyone who conquers, I will give some of the hidden manna, and I will give a white stone. And on the white stone is written a new name, and no one knows except the one who receives it. The white stone also represents freedom. In ancient days in the Holy Land, a prisoner would be given the white stone upon his release. So it represented that he is free from bondage. And the nature of this stone and what it represents is truly transformative. Truly transformative. So let's talk about the power of transformation. In his ministry, Jesus demonstrated lots of powers. For example, the power of regeneration, bringing people back to wholeness, to health, restoring vision, bringing them even back to life in a few cases where someone had died. Also the power of expansion, illustrated in a few stories where a few loaves and fishes were able to feed thousands of people. Sometimes it just says, and there were 4,000 men. And you're like, and I guess maybe some women and children too. And so that could be like, 10,000 people altogether if they counted. Now there's also the power of transformation. If you know that I named my cat Pino, then you might think that the transformation that excites me the most is turning the water into wine, which was really good. But there's another one. The greatest example of transformation is from the 9th chapter of John, and it's about a blind beggar. And as the group is approaching this unfortunate man, the disciples ask Jesus, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? So how about that? It's not challenging enough to have to deal with this circumstance in your life. The common understanding is that he had it coming to him. It's a punishment. It's a just punishment for sin. But Jesus says, no one sinned. He was born blind in order to show the work of God. Because Jesus is getting ready to demonstrate the work of God. Talk about a transformation. I'm sure that it was absolutely wonderful to be able to see, and that means he can make a living now, and so that's a great transformation. But really the transformation is he took this man who was perceived as sinner and turned him into a messenger of God, which is an angel, right? So that's a major transformation. And that's the way I want us to think today. Really big transformation is possible, and what seems to be one level of transformation may be something on a whole different level. This is the biggest transformation. It's a renewed identity for this man. His little white stone could have said, messenger of God. And he was liberated from that bondage of his disability and of the condemnation. And as God reveals our identity to us, it is for us to get it, claim it, believe it, because we are the co-creators with God. So the white stone message probably isn't going to be telling you, this is what's coming to you. This is the identity to focus on as you move yourself forward. This is the potential, this is the opportunity. We have entered a new calendar year, and we hold this ceremony now because it invites us to really welcome an experience of transformation, dramatic growth, dramatic evolution. Why not now? It's always taking us forward. It's always taking us toward our truest and most complete identity. As Lafayette would say, more of thee, more of thee, more of thee, until I am all of thee, all of thee, all of thee. It's our way forward. It represents new beginnings. The word or the name that you receive and that you record on your white stone holds significance and points you toward your highest good. This is spiritual focus for 2020. And notice about that transformation, Jesus' transformation of the blind man. He doesn't say, well, he used to be a sinner and a blind man, and now he's a messenger of God and he can see. No, it's a transformation of perception, of understanding, of realization. That's what it is. It won't be a transformation that changes who you are. You are already complete. You are already complete. So what we get, what we write on our white stone is an opportunity to more fully express an aspect of the divine that is an important part of who you are and is really ready for more expression now. It's really ready for more actualization. And it could be anything. So I listened just a week or so ago to this message by Tara Brach, and she had this really interesting little couplet. States to traits. Can you move from states to traits? And it reminded me of what we're doing today. So here's the example she gave, which is a good one. If you are being in a moment, in a particular moment, you're being compassionate. You are in a state of being compassionate. What does it take and what does it mean for that to become a trait that is just who you are all the time? So recognize a state of forgiveness, recognize a state of optimism, recognize a state of, whatever the state might be. That could become a trait. That's kind of one way to think about this white stone ceremony. It's a way of looking at this kind of growth. So we have to allow God to open our eyes and reveal to us what could be next in our lives, who we could be in this world. And through quiet and inner focus, we accept God's direction. So in a few minutes, we'll go into a meditation, and then on the bulletin it says that after that is the white stone ceremony. It's really all kind of blended together. It's kind of one thing. That's what the ceremony is. Time to do this meditation. And then when you're ready, write down what has come to you, what has come through the jungle. Whatever you get, it's choosing you. It's not that you're choosing it. We have a lot of years in our lives and a lot of periods in our lives and different gifts and aspects and attributes are highlighted at different times. So what we are open to today is what is the theme of the coming year? What divine aspect will carry the day for 2020? And we can't know ourselves and assign it to you. We can only know this. It signifies that you are released from bondage. That is the point of the white stone ceremony. And when Emily Cady writes of bondage versus liberty at the beginning of Lessons in Truth, she is speaking of the evolution that we make from our materialist human self to our spiritual divine self. Our bondage is whatever keeps us trapped in a lower comprehension of ourselves. So what kind of bondage? It could be a habit, it could be an experience of lack, it could be a belief or a set of circumstances. The new identity could be about unexpressed potential, unexperienced greatness. It could be about a circumstance you're dealing with, or a worldly professional title. And we want insight. We want insight, so we ask for it to be revealed. I do want to acknowledge that it's possible that for some of us, it doesn't come to us quite during this hour. It probably will. But meditation and inspiration just aren't easily confined into our schedules sometimes, right? I just don't want anybody to feel too disappointed, and certainly don't feel like you have failed, and certainly don't give up. Because it might be that over cookies after service, somebody says something and that word just reverberates and you realize that's it. Or it might be a word that's in a song that you hear when you're driving home after church today. So it will come, just intended, just intended. And I want to, Rod, can we see that image now? I want to share with you an image that we're all, professional meditators here, but I want to show you this image because it is analogous to how we go about meditation when we are seeking to have something revealed to us. So I think that on this pretty picture, we all see what? A lot of roses. Does anybody see something else? Because if you look at this and you soften your focus, another image comes out. And what?
Faces?
No, it's not that. I mean, I didn't say no, because maybe so, but that's not what I'm looking for. It's one of those things, you've seen these before, where you soften your focus and then something else comes out. And when it comes out, it's like, oh my gosh, look at that. And I do want to tell you that when I first looked at this image, I didn't get it. And I looked at it about 3 times, over different days. And finally, I was like, oh my God, then Kathleen, do you see it? Well, I tell you what, if anybody is like, I think I know, then that's not it. Because when you see it, it is so clear. And that's how we look at this picture, and that's how we meditate. Because so many words will be flying through your consciousness as you're meditating. But something will come to you that is more persistent, that is more clear, and that you recognize, okay. And you know what? When I looked at this and I finally saw, I'm just going to tell you, it's the shape of a heart. It's the shape of a heart, kind of centered in that frame. After I had seen it really, really well, another time I looked at it again, I couldn't see it again, and I had to, it's a way that you kind of got to try not to try. And that's how meditation works, isn't it? So, what is it going to be? Okay, we better turn it off because no one's going to hear anything. So there are, I'm going to just throw out some words, okay? So like there are 12 powers, right? So it could be faith or understanding or imagination, or maybe it's a word like healthy or healer, or maybe it's going to be something metaphysical and poetic like tiger or eagle, or maybe it's going to be something like, a job. So I'm trying to throw out a lot of words just to kind of point out the breadth of possibilities, but I don't want to throw out words that then trap you into thinking about a particular word. So I brought some stones with me. These are not white stones, but some of you probably have some of these. So here's a little gray stone, and it says wisdom. These are just little stones that I have around my house. And then here's one that's kind of white, but it's not a white stone, if you know what I mean. It says ask. That's a good word. Here's one that says magic. That's a good word. I like that one. And I like this one too. It says prayer. I don't know why I'm holding these up as though you can possibly see the word where you sit. Okay, I have this one. Oh, this one says sexy. Look, that's what comes to you. That's what comes to you. So, and then faith. And then here's one, the biggest one. You can't see it, but it's true that it says believe. And I can't show you that without telling you the story about it. And it's from quite a while back. I had been going through a really rough, dark patch, and I was on my way to go sing at my gig in Bethesda, and I just was feeling depleted and just discouraged, and I almost turned around to go home and say, I can't do this gig tonight. And then instead I said to God, you do it. And sometimes that's how poetic my prayer is. So I felt like I got agreement on that, so I continued. A couple minutes later, I show up at the restaurant where I'm going to be singing that night. I pull up out front to unload my PA system, and I see another car is pulled up out front, and some ladies are helping an elderly man get out of the car. And it's because that is my oldest fan. His name is Sam, and he was turning 90, and that was his 90th birthday party. And he had brought all his family there because he used to love to come and hear me sing. So that was like, wow, glad I didn't miss that, you know. And then I go in and I'm setting up, and then my youngest fan, a little girl named Bronte, who was 5 years old, and she and her family would come in regularly. And this time her aunt was visiting from out of town, and so Bronte brought her aunt up to me and said, and introduced me, saying, "This is Karen Gray, my grown-up friend." So I was like, oh, would not have wanted to miss that. And so then a friend of, well, it was the girlfriend of one of my musicians walked in, Julie, and she regularly came to our gigs when he was playing. And she would regularly come and meet up with friends and have dinner. I mean, it's Thai food, you know. So she came in and she had a little gift bag, and I thought, oh, Julie must be meeting some friends here today. And then suddenly it dawned on me, I think that's for me. And when I went over to say hi, she said, "Karen, I saw this and it made me think of you." And it was that little rock that said, "Believe." And it's all because I had God do the gig for me. So, I wonder what your stone will say. Alex, you want to come on up? Whenever we ask, we will get an answer. Without exception and without doubt, you have something beautiful ahead of you. You have a meaningful, purposeful, beautiful transformation. As fantastic as you already are, there's something more to be figured out, to be expressed, to be explored, to be demonstrated, to be shared. And so, let's first do our meditation song, and I'll share just a few messages during our meditation time. But we'll have, not silence because we'll have beautiful music, but it'll be mostly wordless, you know, so that we don't create more crazy traffic in your brain. All right, our thoughts and prayers. Relax your whole body, including your face. And know right now that you are loved and supported by the presence of God. You're in a safe place with a community that supports you and appreciates you. We behold the Christ in you. We behold the Christ in you. We behold the Christ in you. And here's one of Lafayette's affirmations. I walk in the charmed circle of God's love, and I am divinely irresistible to my highest good now.
time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a purpose, for every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time of love, time of hate, a time of war, time of peace, a time that you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, time to sow.